Yahoo rejecting Google. In 1998, two graduate students named Larry Page and Sergey Brin tried to sell their new search engine, called Google, for $1 million. They offered it to Yahoo, which at the time dominated the internet. Yahoo said no. They already had their own search feature and didn't see the need for another. By 2002, Yahoo realized their mistake. Google had exploded in popularity. They tried to buy it back, this time for $3 billion. Google's new CEO, Eric Schmidt, refused. He said the company was worth at least $5 billion. Yahoo walked away again. Just a few years later, Google went public at a valuation of $23 billion, and today it's worth more than $3 trillion. Yahoo, on the other hand, started to decline, missing opportunities in search, social media, and mobile. In 2008, Microsoft offered to buy Yahoo for $44.6 billion. This time, Yahoo's leadership rejected that too, claiming the offer undervalued them. 8 years later, Yahoo was sold to Verizon for $4.5 billion, about one-tenth of what Microsoft had offered. Yahoo turned down Google for $1 million and Microsoft for $44 billion. It's hard to find a worse record for saying no in business history. Blockbuster rejecting Netflix. In the year 2000, Netflix wasn't the streaming giant we know today. It was a small DVD by mail company losing money and struggling to grow. Its founders, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, flew to Dallas to meet with Blockbuster, the king of home video. Their proposal was simple. Netflix would run Blockbuster's online business, and in return, Blockbuster could buy Netflix for $50 million. At the time, Blockbuster was worth over $5 billion and saw no threat in a tiny startup mailing DVDs. Blockbuster's CEO laughed them out of the room. Within just a few years, streaming technology took off. Netflix pivoted online while Blockbuster stayed focused on late fees and physical stores. By the time Blockbuster tried to launch its own streaming service, it was far too late. In 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy with over $1 billion in debt. That same year, Netflix became the world's largest streaming service. By 2021, Netflix's market cap hit $300 billion, roughly 6,000 times what Blockbuster could have paid to own it. One company saw the future, the other saw a fad, and that $50 million missed opportunity became one of the most expensive mistakes in corporate history. The AOL-Time Warner merger. At the height of the dot-com boom in January 2000, AOL was the biggest name on the internet. It had tens of millions of dial-up subscribers and was valued higher than most media companies on Earth. That month, it announced a merger with Time Warner, the world's largest traditional media conglomerate, owner of CNN, Warner Brothers, and Time magazine. The deal was worth $164 billion, the largest corporate merger in history. The idea was to combine the old media power of Time Warner with AOL's new media internet empire. On paper, it looked unstoppable, the future of digital content, but within months, the dot-com bubble burst. AOL's ad revenue collapsed, and the company's inflated stock, which was used to buy Time Warner, lost nearly all its value. The cultures clashed, the business models didn't mix, and the merger quickly unraveled. By 2002, the company reported a $99 billion loss, the largest annual loss ever recorded by a corporation at that time. The AOL-Time Warner merger became known as the worst deal in corporate history. It was supposed to define the future of media. Instead, it defined corporate hubris. WeWork's failed IPO. In early 2019, WeWork looked like one of the most valuable startups in the world. It rented office space, added some free beer, minimalist furniture, neon signs, and somehow convinced investors it was a tech company. At its peak, WeWork was valued at $47 billion, making its CEO, Adam Neumann, a billionaire on paper. Then the company filed to go public, and that's when everything fell apart. The IPO documents revealed losses of $1.9 billion in a single year, bizarre corporate structures, and a CEO who trademarked the word "we" and charged the company to use it. Neumann had also borrowed hundreds of millions from WeWork itself. Investors panicked. Reporters tore the business apart. The valuation collapsed from $47 billion to below $10 billion in a matter of weeks. Neumann was forced out as CEO and given a $1.7 billion exit package just to leave. SoftBank stepped in to rescue the company, but the IPO was pulled, thousands of employees were laid off, and WeWork's value evaporated. It became one of the fastest and most dramatic startup implosions ever. A lesson in what happens when hype runs out and reality hits the balance sheet. Pets.com Super Bowl ad disaster. As the dot-com boom peaked in 2000, Pets.com became one of the most hyped startups in America. The idea was simple. Sell pet supplies online and deliver them to your door. Investors loved it. The company raised hundreds of millions, bought celebrity endorsements, and rolled out an instantly recognizable mascot, the sock puppet dog. Their biggest moment came during the 2000 Super Bowl, where Pets.com spent $1.2 million on a commercial. It was funny, memorable, and widely praised. But there was one problem. The business model made no sense. Shipping heavy bags of dog food cost more than the company earned. For every dollar in revenue, Pets.com was losing $1.50. The more they grew, the more money they burned. By November of the same year, just 9 months after the Super Bowl ad, Pets.com ran out of cash and shut down. Their stock, once worth $14 a share, dropped to less than a penny. The sock puppet became a symbol of the entire dot-com bubble, companies with big ideas, big spending, and no path to profit. Pets.com didn't just fail, it failed at record speed. Kodak ignoring digital cameras. In 1975, an engineer at Kodak named Steven Sasson invented the first digital camera. It weighed 8 pounds, recorded black and white images to a cassette tape, then took 23 seconds to capture a single photo. Kodak owned the future of photography, but executives were terrified. Their entire business depended on selling film and photo paper. Digital photography would eliminate both, so instead of aggressively developing the technology, Kodak buried it. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Kodak actually held many of the key digital patents, but they moved slowly, protecting their film profits while competitors like Canon, Sony, and eventually smartphone makers pushed digital forward. By the early 2000s, film sales collapsed. Consumers switched to digital almost overnight. Kodak tried to pivot, but it was too late. In 2012, after more than 130 years in business, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. The company that invented the digital camera didn't lose because it missed the future. It lost because it was afraid of it. JCPenney's rebrand disaster. In 2011, JCPenney hired Ron Johnson, the former retail executive behind Apple's wildly successful stores. The idea was simple: modernize the struggling department store chain and make it cool again. Johnson immediately made a bold move. He eliminated sales, coupons, and discounts, the very thing JCPenney customers loved. Instead, he introduced fair and square pricing, meaning fewer promotions and everyday low prices. The problem? JCPenney's customers weren't shopping for logic. They were shopping for deals. Within months, traffic collapsed. Sales dropped 25% in a single year, one of the worst declines in retail history. Over the next 3 years, the company lost $4.3 billion. Customers felt confused and betrayed. Loyal shoppers stopped coming, and the brand's identity disappeared overnight. By 2013, Ron Johnson was fired. JCPenney brought back coupons and sales, but the damage was done. The company never fully recovered and eventually filed for bankruptcy in 2020. It wasn't a bad product. It wasn't bad timing. It was a misunderstanding of your own customer. MySpace, from $580 million to nothing. In 2005, MySpace was the largest social network in the world. It had more traffic than Google, more users than anyone else, and it was growing fast. That year, News Corp, owned by Rupert Murdoch, bought MySpace for $580 million. At first, it looked brilliant. MySpace dominated social media. Musicians launched careers there. Brands poured in ad dollars. But while MySpace focused on maximizing short-term advertising revenue, a small college-based platform called Facebook focused on user experience, clean design, and real identities. MySpace became cluttered with ads, spam, autoplay music, and messy custom profiles. Users slowly drifted away. Facebook grew quietly, then explosively. By 2011, News Corp sold MySpace for just $35 million, a fraction of what they paid. At its peak, MySpace had the world's attention, but it optimized for revenue instead of product and lost to a company that optimized for the future. What do you think was the most embarrassing mistake in this video? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you very soon.